Start with a why, the unseen force. Why is it that some of the most profound shifts in our world happen without fanfare, without public applause, without a name, etched into the headlines? It is because real change often begins in quiet corners, through people whose purpose is not recognition, but impact. Women have been at the heart of this quiet revolution for centuries. They have shaped the direction of lives, organizations, and entire societies, not by demanding attention, but by aligning every action with a deeply personal why. When a woman's why is rooted in care, in justice, in the desire to see others thrive, her influence becomes unstoppable. This is not the kind of influence that shouts over the noise. It is the kind that quietly rewires the culture from within. It moves through conversations at the kitchen table, through the decision to speak up in a meeting, through the choice to mentor someone who might never say the thank you. The force is unseen, yet it directs the flow of countless lives. The unseen force begins in moments that may look ordinary. A mother choosing to comfort rather than scold. A colleague stepping in to advocate for someone overlooked. Woot? A friend listening without judgment when the rest of the world is quick to condemn. None of these moments are posted online. None are recognized as leadership in the traditional sense. But they are the bedrock on which true leadership stands. The power of this why is that it doesn't depend on the stage or the spotlight. It can exist anywhere, at home, at work, in the smallest of communities. The unseen force of women operates under one rule: if something matters deeply, it is worth doing whether or not anyone notices. This detachment from external validation is what makes the influence enduring. Consider history's turning points, movements for civil rights, for education, for peace. Behind the speeches and the marches were women organizing, persuading, writing, fundraising, and holding entire networks together. Their names are often absent from the official records. Yet without them, the movements would have collapsed before they began. The why sustained them when the how became exhausting. This force is not passive. Silence is not inaction. The unseen power of women is active, deliberate, and strategic. It listens before it speaks, it builds alliances before it challenges, and it chooses the moments when its voice will carry the greatest weight. The impact is magnified not by the volume of words, but by the precision of their timing. No. We live in a world that rewards visibility, yet some of the most transformative work happens invisibly. A woman guided by a powerful why is not distracted by the need to be seen. She measures success by the change she sets in motion, not by the credit she receives. The unseen force thrives in environments where others would give up, because its fuel comes from purpose, not applause. It is this why that allows women to influence without dominating, to guide without imposing, to lead without the title. And when that purpose is clear, every quiet decision becomes a deliberate act of shaping the world, one person at a time. Yet between the lines of these stories lies another narrative. One built by people who did not demand to be noticed. Among them, women have played the role of architects, constructing the very foundations on which those public victories stood. Their tools were not always armies or legislation, but persistence, intellect, and unshakable conviction. Consider the great social movements that changed the course of nations. The leaders who stood on podiums often drew their courage and clarity from women working behind the scenes, writing letters, organizing gatherings, feeding the exhausted, and quietly keeping morale alive. Without these invisible networks, the speeches would have been echoes without action. The blueprints of change were drawn in living rooms, kitchens, and unrecorded meetings. In science, the story repeats. Discoveries credited to prominent men often had the fingerprints of women on the research, the calculations, or the experiments. Many of these contributions were signed away, hidden in footnotes, or attributed to someone else entirely. Yet these women pressed on, not because they were chasing recognition, but because they were committed to truth and progress. The buildings of human knowledge are full of bricks they laid in silence. The same can be said of art and culture. In countless eras, women preserved languages, traditions, and music during times when those expressions were under threat. They became the keepers of heritage, passing down stories when official history tried to erase them. These cultural architects ensured that entire communities retained their identity, even when the dominant powers sought to dismantle it. In governance, women have been the trusted advisors, the diplomatic bridges, the quiet negotiators who kept conflicts from becoming wars. They understood that influence is not always about leading from the front. It can be about whispering in the right ear at the right time. Policy and peace often depended on their steady, measured presence in moments of instability. The quiet architect is different from the celebrated leader in one crucial way. Her focus is on the structure, not the spotlight. She thinks about what will last beyond her, what will hold when pressure comes, what will remain standing when others are gone. This perspective creates work that is resilient, deeply rooted, and capable of withstanding storms. Even in moments of personal cost, these women persisted. They faced dismissal, erasure, and outright hostility, yet their commitment to building something meaningful outweighed the wounds of being overlooked. They understood that their work was not about personal glory. It was about the architecture of a better future. To study history without acknowledging these quiet architects is to see only the facade without understanding the foundation. Their blueprints are etched not in monuments, but in the way people live, speak, and hope today, shaped by structures built quietly, one careful choice at a time. The paradox of silence. Silence is often misunderstood. In a world that rewards the loudest voice, it is easy to mistake quietness for passivity, restraint for weakness. Yet silence can be one of the most deliberate and powerful tools a person can wield. For many women, silence has been both a shield and a strategy, a way to navigate spaces where speaking openly came with risks. It is not the absence of action, but the presence of intentionality. In moments of tension, silence can disarm. When voices are raised, tempers flaring, and words flying recklessly, a measured pause can shift the entire dynamic. A woman who chooses not to answer immediately is not retreating. She's observing, gathering, and deciding on the most effective move. This patience creates room for clarity and keeps her influence intact. Silence also carries the weight of dignity. When confronted with ignorance, bias, or hostility, sometimes the most profound statement is to withhold a response, refusing to be pulled into a battle that diminishes her presence. In those moments, silence is not about conceding. It is about refusing to lend energy to something unworthy of engagement. History offers countless examples where silence was an act of resistance. In oppressive systems, women have used it to protect secrets, safeguard movements, and avoid detection while orchestrating change. Silence became the invisible cover under which plans were made, alliances formed, and futures protected. There is also a creative power to silence. It allows space for reflection, for ideas to form before they are spoken into the world. In leadership, this pause often leads to solutions others miss because they are too busy filling the air with words. The paradox is that by saying less, a woman can often see more. Silence can be deeply uncomfortable for those who expect compliance or immediate agreement. That discomfort is itself a form of influence. It unsettles, challenges, and forces others to fill the gap. In that space, the silent person holds control without appearing to take it. In personal relationships, silence can be a tool of healing. It creates space for others to speak, to be heard without interruption, to arrive at their own realizations. It can turn confrontation into conversation, replacing reaction with understanding. The paradox of silence lies in the fact that, while it appears to be an absence, it often carries more intention, more strategy, and more meaning than the loudest declarations. It is not the absence of voice. It is the mastery of when, how, and whether to use it at all. Emotional intelligence as leadership is often measured by decisiveness, vision, and the ability to command. Yet, some of the most transformative leadership emerges not from authority, but from understanding. That emotional intelligence, the ability to read emotions, manage one's own responses, and navigate relationships with empathy, has been a defining strength of women in leadership roles throughout history. It is a power that influences not through force, but through connection. At its core, emotional intelligence begins with self-awareness. Women who lead with this skill understand their own triggers, strengths, and limitations. This awareness allows them to act with intention rather than impulse, ensuring that decisions are grounded, not reactionary. It is the quiet discipline of knowing when to hold back and when to lean in. The next layer is empathy. To lead effectively, one must see beyond tasks and targets to the human beings who carry them out. Women often excel at perceiving the unspoken, the fatigue in a colleague's eyes, the hesitation in their tone, the shift in energy in a room. This awareness creates an environment where people feel seen, valued, and motivated to contribute fully. In conflict, emotional intelligence becomes a stabilizing force. Rather than escalating tension, a leader with this skill listens first, seeks to understand the root of the issue, and addresses it with both firmness and care. This approach not only resolves immediate problems, but builds long-term trust, turning potential adversaries into allies. Emotional intelligence also enables adaptability. Leaders with this strength can sense when strategies are failing, when morale is slipping, or when a team's priorities have shifted. Instead of rigidly enforcing a plan, they adjust course while keeping the larger vision intact. This flexibility often determines whether a team survives challenges or crumbles under them. Communication is transformed through emotional intelligence. Words are chosen not just for clarity, but for impact, delivered in a way that motivates rather than alienates. Feedback becomes constructive, not crushing. Praise is given in ways that inspire continued growth rather than complacency. Every interaction is an opportunity to strengthen the fabric of the team. The influence of emotional intelligence extends beyond immediate relationships. It shapes culture. Leaders who embody empathy and self-awareness foster environments where collaboration thrives and innovation is welcome. The ripple effect of this leadership style reaches far beyond what can be measured on a performance chart. What makes emotional intelligence such a powerful form of leadership is that it operates from within. It does not rely on titles, resources, or formal authority. It draws its strength from the ability to connect, to guide, and to inspire through the shared experience of being human. The ripple effect of everyday actions change is often imagined as something sparked by grand gestures or historic events. Yet some of the most lasting transformations begin with moments so small they are barely noticed at the time. A single choice, a single act of kindness or courage can set in motion a chain of events that extends far beyond its original moment. Women have been at the heart of these everyday ripples, shaping the lives of others in ways that only reveal their full impact years later. It may start with a teacher who stays after class to encourage a student struggling to believe in themselves. That student, carrying the weight of that belief, goes on to achieve something they never thought possible. And in doing so, inspires others. The original act is forgotten by most, but its influence flows forward, touching lives the teacher will never meet. Sometimes the ripple begins with an act of defiance so subtle it escapes notice. A woman refusing to accept a biased policy at work plants a seed of awareness in others. Over time, that awareness grows into collective action, shifting the culture for those who come after her. The change is gradual, but the original spark remains. Even in the home, everyday actions can leave deep impressions. A mother showing resilience during hard times teaches her children that strength is not the absence of struggle, but the ability to keep moving forward despite it. Those children carry that lesson into their own lives, passing it on to others without even realizing its origin. In communities, women who volunteer quietly, organize resources, or simply show up consistently for others create networks of trust and care. These networks become lifelines in moments of crisis, enabling resilience that might not have been possible without years of steady, unnoticed work. The ripple effect is not limited to acts of kindness. It can emerge from moments of truth-telling as well. Speaking honestly to someone, even when it is uncomfortable, can alter the course of their decisions. That shift may influence not only their life, but the lives of those around them, creating waves of change from a single conversation. What makes these ripples powerful is that they often operate beyond the awareness of the one who set them in motion. The woman who gives a word of encouragement may never know that it led to a new business being started or a family being supported. The volunteer may never see how her hours of service inspired others to follow in her footsteps. Everyday actions carry weight precisely because they are consistent, authentic, and rooted in purpose. They may not make headlines, but they accumulate over time, altering the landscape in ways that are impossible to trace back to a single source, yet undeniable in their presence. Resilience forged in challenges resilience is not born in comfort. It is shaped in moments when the path forward is unclear, when resources are scarce, and when the odds lean heavily against success. For many women, resilience has been less a choice and more necessity, something cultivated through navigating barriers that were never meant to be crossed. Challenges can take many forms. Societal expectations, economic limitations, personal loss, systemic injustice. Each obstacle demands strength, but it also demands adaptability. Resilience grows when a woman learns not only to endure hardship, but to bend with it, to adjust without breaking, to turn constraints into creativity. Some challenges are visible, marked by public battles and obvious sacrifices. Others are silent and private. The quiet persistence of holding a family together during financial strain, the unacknowledged emotional labor of keeping relationships intact, the daily effort of showing up when no one sees the effort it takes to do so. Both kinds of challenges leave marks, but they also leave strength in their place. Resilience is not about avoiding pain. It is about finding meaning within it. A woman who has endured loss may carry a deeper compassion for others in grief. A woman who has faced repeated rejection may develop an unshakable determination to open doors for others. Each hardship becomes both a scar and a source of wisdom. The process of forging resilience often involves moments of doubt. There are days when continuing feels impossible, when every step forward seems to lead to another wall. Yet it is in those moments, when the temptation to stop is strongest, that resilience deepens, becoming less about hope for an easy future and more about the will to keep moving regardless of the terrain. Resilience also is a community. Women who have navigated difficulty often become pillars for others, offering guidance and stability in times of uncertainty. They share their lessons not as abstract ideas, but as lived truths, tested under pressure. Their presence reassures others that survival is possible, even when the way forward is unclear. Over time, resilience transforms the way challenges are approached. Obstacles are no longer seen solely as threats, but as proving grounds for strength. The focus shifts from a "why is this happening?" to me, to a "what can I learn and build from this?" That shift does not make hardship easy, but it makes it purposeful. Resilience forged in challenges is not loud or boastful. It moves quietly, built layer by layer through every trial endured, every adaptation made, every refusal to surrender when surrender seemed simplest. When silence speaks louder than words, there are moments when words fail, not because they are absent, but because they are unnecessary. In these moments, silence becomes the language that carries more weight than any speech could.